Hi all, right back with more DD at Tarawa. This is my part 32, I think. Yeah. Um. So we're on the US action phase of turn 17. I watched quite a bit of footage back today. I was travelling on the train a bit, not driving, of course. And so caught up in a bit. Obviously, this major error that Michael from Ohio pointed out to me regarding the command post. Yeah, silly. Just got a bit sloppy. I think maybe probably distracted by the pain that the game was giving me. I don't know. Maybe that's a poor excuse as well. So looking back at it, and I'm leaving comments in the headers, basically saying that I've got away with it in a way that two of the turns, the US action phases, I didn't spend any actions at all, and I did activate 2 or 3 units in both of these turns, believing they were getting a free action. But because I hadn't spent any actions, we can say I used the action markers. So, which is really lucky, because you know what, if that hadn't happened, if I had used my actions elsewhere and said, right, and then I'm going to give free actions to that, I would have scrapped the game by now. That would have been too much for me, I think. Whereas I can kind of get away with this. The initial attack on the tank that I had to say that I changed things about, I don't feel good about that, but that's the best I could come up with to keep the game rolling, really. I think you can probably understand that. I mean, it's either that or I scrap the game there as well. It was the best kind of way to deal with it. So, yeah, I mean, I don't want any of these mistakes, and if I get major mistakes that, like I say, if that had moved on and I had spent actions, I would have had to say, right, okay, I'm going to wrap this up and either start again. I'm not so sure. I don't know. Maybe you know what, and in some kind of way, maybe I would start again. You feel like. This is maybe if that situation had arose, maybe it's the best time to start again, because I've seen what's happening. I've seen, okay, yeah, I can't predict what cards I'm going to draw and what units are going to activate and whatever, but I seen some things here. The tanks were a pain. I would get after them if I could, and also maybe thinking to myself, maybe I get a bit better luck. Although some of you out there might be saying you've had good enough luck. No, it wasn't Michael. It was David. Had said to me he was on turn 15. He only had eight points. I think he only had 8 secure positions. So I mean, I had the 12. In fact, I had 13. So he only had 8, but he decided to carry on with the game. Which, yeah, I think that's a good thing to do, just to see how it moves on or whatever. But yeah, I think he said that. And then he was going to start again or whatever. Or did this... Yeah, I'm not sure. But it sounded like I was in a better position than him. So maybe it's not as bad as I'm thinking. Okay, so US action phase. Right, before... yeah, and that was the other thing. Obviously, I had to adjust this. This was a way up here. Here or here, maybe. And I had to bring that back down. Because I was not able to increase that every time that the command post was in that tank's field of fire. So, but it's all good just now. But these are things you've got to remember. Yeah. So one thing's kind of come up with the not redeploy assault action. Martin made a comment after John Brown had said what he had said, and I thought that, and I thought I was overthinking it, and blah blah blah. And then Martin came back saying, maybe you're overthinking this, and he gave 2 points to the assault action. And threw me a little bit the way he set it out. I don't know if maybe he needs, if that needs to be looked at again and set it differently, but I don't really want to go into that just now, because I've not got the comment up. Well, shouldn't you? Shouldn't you talk about it? I suppose I should. Hang on then. I suppose I maybe didn't want to start going into it because it's maybe a bit heavy and a bit difficult to sort of describe. Well, is it? Actually, no, it's not really. Now, we've done this, we resolved this, and I'm going to have to just go and sit with this, but Martin's comment got me thinking that maybe I was right in thinking it in another way, but I'm still convinced that his meaning is probably the as it was. Right, well, are you making any sense here, Grant? Let me take a Japanese unit that's been removed from play, right? It doesn't matter what it is. This was in here. Was that in this? Was that in the most recent fire phase? Because I see a double A as the fire card. I think it was actually, because it was, because we got an amazing result, didn't we? Can I not get the units? No, because he went. Yeah, it doesn't really matter, Grant. Right, I'll grab a. No, hang on. He's inland, isn't he? So I'll grab a inland depth marker as well. I'm not sure if that was the one it was or not, but to be honest, I don't think these were revealed at the time anyway. But I'll leave them revealed like that because it might confuse me. I'll turn them upside down and right. I'm not showing you any of that. So I put these in here. These have been eliminated. They're removed from the game. These. So it's just to set up this example again, and this is kind of what I said. I would maybe take a picture of this, and which I can easily do. Well, until I've then started moving things about. Maybe what I should do is take a picture of this before I finish. Yeah, okay. So the situation was this is a double A, and I think it is that fire card, that one there. So we've got a double, and it's an A in yellow, and so this was activating. I think it was all face down, to be honest. So it's the assault action. So right away I thought, right, okay, the assault action says, let's read it in the rule book. It doesn't have US units in its field of fire. Okay, this guy is not in yellow's field of fire. Neither is this, and neither is this. They're the closest ones, right? So it doesn't have US units in its field of fire. If it did have, it would move into that unit with its depth marker and conduct close combat, and there'd be some, depending on, I think it's low strength, so if all these were in its field of fire, it would probably look at this one and this one, and it wouldn't care if it was a position hex or not, for if it had units in its field of fire, right? However, if it doesn't have units in its field of fire, right, the rule is if a Japanese occupied inland position has no US units in its field of fire, move the Japanese unit and depth marker to a position hex. Now, there, right away, that bit is what John Brown came back to me and said, and then I thought, right, it says it right there. It's got to move to a position hex, okay? No more than 3 hexes away from its current position and closest to the nearest US unit. Closest to the nearest US unit. I can't get my head around all that part, but anyway, the unit may be moved into an unoccupied or US occupied position hex. If entering a US occupied position hex, conduct close combat. And if 2 are eligible, there's some. If 2 or more eligible positions are equidistant from the nearest US unit, move to a position closest to the Japanese unit's current position, then you choose. Okay, so, but I mean, it says there on that, when John Brown said that back to me, I thought, but that means this can't be a consideration. Because it's not a position hex, this. So, but the bit that was throwing me was, you'll see that this is the closest unit to this position. These are 3 away, and this is 2 away. And then that's what I started thinking, well, shouldn't this be my target of what I need to achieve? But there's no position hex I can move to that is going to get closer to this. Now, there is position hexes I can get to move closer to this, and they are here and here. They're right on top of them, and they will close combat that. And that's what I ended up doing. Oh, it was this guy here, wasn't it? Yeah, he's tough as nails. So they moved in there, and we were like that when we started the close combat, and we're still like that now. We beat the guy up with his death marker, and we threw him, and we destroyed it all. That was pretty amazing stuff. I think that's right. He had a death marker, didn't he? Yeah, he did. Yeah, because it was doubled. So, okay, so there's me explaining things. So let me just, without going through it all, I don't know. Do I need to go through this all? Yeah, this is going to end up taking a lot of time up, Grant. But I don't know. I thought I had it, and I thought I knew what it was, but yeah. Right, it says how when the Japanese have the assault action, and there are no US units in their field of fire, is the priority to move towards the nearest US unit? Or is it the nearest US unit that has a position hex that they can move into? Example, I have 1 US unit in a non-position hex and 2 hexes away from the assaulting unit, but no empty position hexes that the assaulting unit could move closer to. I have another US unit in a position hex, 3 hexes away from the assaulting unit, but no empty position hexes that assaulting unit could move closer to. Does the Japanese unit enter the position hex of the US unit that is 3 hexes away and CC? And that's the situation I had, although I didn't mention the fact that there was 2 different ones here. So let's just consider that there's only one. This guy, and this is, he's closer to this. He's 3 hexes away from that. We resolved that he had to move into a position hex, so we done that and close combated. And that's what I think John Brown kind of led me to believe. He came back. Assault will only move to a non-position hex if there are US units in the current position's field of fire. Assault will only move to a non-position hex if there are US units in current position of fire. Yeah, so it can't move into this hex because this is not in the position's field of fire. And yes, I'm for that, but although I don't quite understand some of the way it's written down, this whole closest bit tends to make me feel like that is the unit I should be looking towards. So he carries on. Assault without a US unit in the field of fire seems to want a new position hex. The new position can be either unoccupied or US occupied. Based on the rules as written, the new position doesn't even have to be closer to the closest US unit than the current position. And it's that bit again, when it's talking about closer to the closest US unit, I like gloss over there. But he carries on. It just has to be the unoccupied / US occupied position within 3 hexes of the current position that is, again, closest to the nearest US unit. Sorry. I'm just... can't get my head around all that, okay? I don't know why, but I just can't. He carries on, and that's what resolves it for me. He says, in your example, I would say yes, it moves into the position 3 hexes away, assuming that is the only unoccupied / US occupied hex within 3 hexes. Without a picture, on this case the video, I'm limited to mostly providing advice on how to evaluate things. Yeah, even Mark replies it could do a picture of this. The video footage that I spoke about originally, it's not quite released yet, but And then I'm talking about here in this part as well. So I want to say maybe in part 29, or maybe it's only in part 30 actually. Yeah, this is 32. It's probably 30. But right away, I mean that one says that, you know, assault will only move to a non-position hex if there are US units in the current position's field of fire. Okay, so thanks, John. This is what I thought. But I think I did what I sometimes do and read things in the Grantos way. I just seem to struggle to grasp, and this is the bit that John said. Oh no, that's a quote from the rules. However, that does state position hex. And then the bit that threw me completely was closest to the nearest US unit, which got me thinking I should initially be looking closest to the nearest US unit. So, yeah, again, coming back across here, where is the nearest US unit? It's here. It's not in a position hex, and there's no position hexes near it, but that is the nearest US unit to that assaulting unit. You know, these are not. So, yeah. So, but Martin's response is interesting and threw me again to like what's going on here. He says, maybe you're overthinking it a little. Well, yeah, I thought it was, but with Martin's comments, it sounds like I was overthinking it in this way. Because he says, 1, look for the closest US unit, regardless of if it's in a position hex or not. Right? Look for the closest US unit, regardless of if it's in a position hex or not. Right? Let's go back to our example. Let's go back and look. And this is why I'm wondering if maybe Martin's got something down wrong here, because this starts to... But he's maybe not. He's maybe not. So, regardless... Look for the closest US unit, regardless of if it's in a position hex or not. This guy's in a position hex, he's 3 away. This guy's in a position hex, he's 3 away. This guy is not in a position hex, and he's 2 away. So, right away, number 1 is here. This is where I should be looking. He says, look for the closest US unit. So I'm looking at that guy, right? And then... he then says, now look for the eligible position hex closest to that unit and move there. Well, as we'll get around to my response to him, there is none. There's not. The only position hex that this could move to is here, which is going to be further away from that, or here. Well, I don't know how many it can move. Can it move... Is there a limit to 3 hexes away? Yeah. So 1, 2, 3, 4. So it's not going to move there. So it could move there, but I don't know. I'm not seeing that makes sense to move further away from that. And there's no other positions that it can move to. And John Brown's confirmed that he can't move into this because this is not in its field of fire, which I tend to agree with that. So where do I go from there? So, well, let me see my follow-up. So my reply is interesting because this kind of, although I'd already carried out the action, based on what John Brown has said, I thought, yeah, that sounds about right, and I'm just been overthinking it. Martin comes back with this, and then I'm thinking, well, yeah, what have I been thinking? So I say interesting. So this is where I started to think I was maybe getting it wrong because of what Martin said. Martin's saying you should be looking for the closest unit. In my situation, the closest US unit does not have a position hex that the assaulting unit can move to that would get it closer to that closest US unit. So going by what you're saying, I either can't carry out the action at all, or I need to consider another US unit. Which is it? And again, jumping back to our example, so either... can't carry out the action because this is not in a position hex, there's no position hexes closer to this, or I look for these other units which I can move into. And this is what I've done, right? So, and again, unfortunately, Martin's looking for a bit of help here, an image, and I understand that. Sometimes you look at people's queries and it's not simple to just like understand what they're saying in words, you need to see it. So he does say it's hard to say when you don't see the actual situation, but the rules don't state that you have to move closer. Only closest to the nearest unit. Closest to the nearest unit. Oh dear. What does that mean? The rules don't state that you have to move closer, so I don't have to move closer to that. Only closest to the nearest unit. I don't know what that... This is what, when I read it in the rules, when it said, when it says that, closest to the nearest US unit, I can't get my head around that bit at all. But Martin seems to be writing it down there as if it's quite easy to grasp. But although I do get a bit of support here in a second. Well, when I say support, just like what Martin's comment is here gets somebody else comments. So I just come back with, okay, I'm confused. I will try and upload a picture of an example of what my situation was, though I have just moved on now anyway, so I think what's done is done. Well, it is. I can't go and reverse this. And I don't want it as well, because we got the best close combat ever. So I'm hoping that I have still got it right. I do feel like it's still right. And it's just, I think Martin does need to see what I'm talking about, and he needs a picture, an example, or see the video footage. It says, but I do follow up, but I do want to make sure I understand it properly for the next time, however. Right, so I get, and then there's a response from Jacob here, which sort of backs the confusion side of it up as well, because he says that, and that's to Martin's comment there, that is a little confusing. Why would the enemy move at all if not in any position hex closer? If it must move, how so? I always treated it as if enemy can't move any closer to closest unit, move it to a position hex that is closest to most nearest unit. Oh. Yeah, it's a bit Oh, Martin's come back with something. Right, okay, well this is new then, so we can look at this together. Right, so he's saying, I'm not saying it should move if it's not able to move closer. I'm simply stating that the rule as written doesn't require you to move closer. As for why it would move, moving to a new position could clearly have its advantages, even if it's not closer. Personally, I wouldn't consider any other units and would most likely not move the unit at all. Ooh, okay. Clearly, this is one of a handful of rules that could need clarification. Mr. Butterfield, fortunately, is very good at clearing things up when asked. Good stuff, right. Okay, it does seem that it's not as clear cut then, eh? Because even he's saying there, he wouldn't consider any other units. It looks like he is considering the closest US unit. And it's funny he called me out for saying I'm maybe overthinking it, but that's where I thought I was overthinking when it started to me, I wasn't thinking about looking at the closest US unit until then. So and that's when I started, and then I felt like I was overthinking it, and it was simpler than that. So this kind of took a turn roundabout. Right, so there's more to look at it with us for sure. Okay. Right, well, I think I will. I said I would send a picture, so what I'm going to do is take a wee picture of this and see if I can sort of explain. It's as simple as that. I mean, where does it go? This. Well, I can call out the numbers of the units, I suppose, and explain what hexes are in. This is obviously in E5, this is in E1, and this is in a non-position hex. So I probably want to careful. I probably want to show this hex just as a sort of like, man, I can't see that going to there to try and assault this. I mean, I don't know. So let me do that, and then we'll just get on with this US action phase. Right, I had to stop the video there to take that picture. And right, I put the picture out there with an explanation of things. Right, we can take this away now because that shouldn't be there. Unfortunately, it kind of like used up most of my time here, and I think that's why I didn't want to start going into that, because I wanted to try and get this US action phase done. Well, let's see if we can still do it, Grant. I think you maybe had about 30 minutes, not even 30 minutes. So, can you? You've got, just as a note, we've got 3 US actions, and we've got 1 support marker that we kept. We garrisoned, I want to say, this hex here, was it? Yeah. So I think the intention was to make a move with these guys. Yeah. I've still not looked at what we need to be achieving. I meant to do that. Well, you didn't do it, did you, Grant? Right, let's look just now. Right, actually, you know what? The best thing to look at would be the updated rules, rather than me looking at the old rules and then the clarifications or the corrections that they made. So I'll bring my tablet across again. We'll have a look at that. Alright, so this is all we need to be knowing here. And this is the updated rules. So it's basically got the rules that I've got, but with the errata built in. So upon completing turn 30 and the 2 days in hell, or the 21st of November scenario, well, we're doing the 2 days in hell, determine which Japanese positions have been secured as defined in 40.2. So it's the same definition, to secure the position. Nothing changes here. So you win the scenario if you have secured all positions in 3 island zones. So obviously that's A to F. One of which must be zone A or F. Okay. Plus at least 8 positions in other zones. So you win the scenario, you've secured all positions in 3 island zones. So let's just say we've got to have A, and let's just say we have C and D, right? That's the 3 island zones. We need to have them all secured. And then we also have to have another 8 positions in other zones. Wow, that's a lot. You lose if you fail to achieve the objectives for winning. Right, there's an example there. For example, if you have secured all the positions hexes labelled F, E, and D, and A plus 1 position hex labelled B and 1 labelled C, you win. Eh? Well, I'm assuming that means A plus 1B and 1C must add up to 8. You win the scenario if you've secured all positions in 3 island zones, one of which must be zone A or F. Well, I would say F is definitely our better opportunity, because we've got a lot of F covered already. That's probably the most obvious one. Yes, okay. So if we've got F, now let's just say let's look at the map rather than look at that anymore, because that's told us. Let's say most of these positions are Fs, aren't they? And that's the A. The A's are up the back there. So we've got to have A or F completely secured. So that does mean that we've got these 3 units in our way. So actually, is that an F there? Oh, it is. So we kind of need to go and get that one, and then start coming across, and probably just ignore the rest of that up there. I don't know, maybe. This is horrible here. So, But if we secure all this, we're probably wanting to come that way and join up with that, I think. I don't know. What is this in? Is this E? So E, but this is all E in here, isn't it? That's a D. That's a D. So it's only that one that's the other E. But I guess, yeah, the E's come along here, don't they? Yeah, there's lots, isn't there? So we need to secure 3 of these positions. So I'm going to go for F, and these units are landing in here. Do we ignore E? Well, this is E to start with, isn't it? No, see, we've got a bit of E going already. This is D. But the rest of E is over here. And this is where there's just a massive force. However, that's not to say that these couldn't come across and these couldn't come across that way and take that out. That would be F and then E. I mean, I'm assuming I'm trying to wipe. I'm assuming what I'm meaning is I need to wipe all that out. Like, it doesn't seem like just a simple task to me, but just try to work out what it is we need to do, obviously. And then you can see D is along here, which doesn't look so good. So, I mean, maybe if we take these E's out, well, I think that's a D, isn't it? There's B up there. It stretches right along to there. So that's kind of empty, isn't it? And in actual fact, I suppose A's not got much going on for it, is it? It's just that it's quite far away and it stretches right along to here. And I don't think there's any requirement for having... it just says one of them's got to be A or F, doesn't it? Yeah. One of which must be zone A or F, plus at least 8 positions in other zones. That's a lot. That's a lot. I mean, some of you probably counted out the numbers. Is there some that have more than others, maybe? That goes up to A, 12, 13. That's the one that's got the 2 12s. 11, 12, 13. And the F's go up to, that's 12, 9. What is that one? That's 13 as well. Do they all have 13, maybe? There's E12. It's D17, so no, they clearly don't. But then this D position's got like 1, 2, 3, 4 and that, so whether that's balanced out a little bit. Does that help you understand? Well, I suppose it kind of, well, it doesn't really, no. It doesn't help me, like, decide what I'm going to go and do here. Yeah. Hang on. Yeah, okay, well, right, I know what I need to try and achieve. I'm not going to do this. I'm for sure not going to be able to achieve this. But I'm going to plod on. I just think unfortunately tonight I've wasted all my time going over this situation here. And that's why I didn't want to go into it just now, because I just wanted to come up and get this US action phase finished, but I've not even got the US action phase started, and I've kind of run out of time, I think. I want to say I'm at 30 odd minutes, so I'm sure I could pause this, and then if I just come back tomorrow, the problem is I'm probably going to get some responses to my post when I've uploaded the picture, and I'm probably going to talk about that and resolve this situation. Well, hopefully resolve it. Oh well, you know what? I can't rewind what I've done. And that's not because it was beneficial to me. well, I suppose I could. But then, no, we revealed the Japanese unit. The Japanese unit wasn't revealed at the time as well. So, I still didn't feel like that was the right way to do it. It should be my choice between this and this. That's what I think. But, maybe Martin's starting to think, or he's starting to say it the way that the rules are talking about the closest unit. I don't know. Let's, the image is out there. Let's just see. Maybe I've not explained it properly, and now the image will show it, and he's maybe going to go, yeah, right, yeah, you get a choice between the two. That's it. It's as simple as that. So, and then that's fine. We can move on. Although it looks like another one of these rules that are written just to, not in a clear-cut way, or maybe clear to some people, but not to myself, anyway. Yeah, I better not try and tackle this, because I have been sitting looking at this for a while and then thinking, yeah, because we've got all this stuff here now that wants to start making a move, and then all the stuff here that needs to start making a move as well. We need to start doing something. We can't just sit. I mean, yeah, we've got 30 turns. We're on turn 17, so we've got another 12 turns after this. That's not an awful lot when we've just talked about what we need to try and secure. So we need to make moves. We need to take chances and whatever. We need to move into some of these intense positions and suffer the consequences, probably. But yeah, because of that, that's not going to be a quick process. So I will come back to that tomorrow. I'll hopefully just go and pause here, because I'd hate to have this created as a part, because there's nothing in it. Just me talking about that. It's not the first time I've done that, and I've just put a comment in the header though that there's saying there's no gameplay at all here. It's just going over a few things and discussing some things and whatever. So who knows? I might do that, but I want to say I'm sure it was only 20 odd minutes before this little part that I've done just now. We shall see. If not, I'll start a new part tomorrow. Okay? Cheers. Hi all. Right, back to finish this part 32 it is, isn't it? I done a couple of bits last night, so it's split into 2 bits, and this is the following night. What I think I'm going to do here, because I just like to go over this. I've got this situation, this assault thing. I think I've got it worked out now. Martin, there's a couple more responses in the BGG thread, the question that I posted, and yeah, I've come to realise what it means. Not only that, I noticed a slight mistake I made with wading these guys ashore, and I put a comment in the header for that as well. Now, it wouldn't matter, because I don't think this guy would have been able to get. He would have still been in this brown position, and brown did actually fire here. It didn't have anything in its field of fire. However, it would have had this unit in its field of fire. However, we've still got the fire card there. And actually, one of the other things I noticed I had done was the event card. Not that it's a huge big deal, but I noticed I piled it on top of that. So, yeah, this is the fire card, isn't it? Yeah. I put the wrong. No, I'm right. Right. That was the fire card. Yeah. So it was double yellow red and double brown. Yeah, and it was triangles. That was the relevant part there. So, but I noticed when I was moving these about. Now, I'm not going to turn these back around, because they did take hits, and in actual fact. So hang on. Let me see. I've got the picture there. Hang on a sec. Right, it's a triangle, then the diamond. Right, yeah. So this guy started from here. This guy started from here, along with this as well. Like I say, I'm going to leave the hits, because the hits are still the same. We'll see that in a minute. And then the engineer had been there. He was coming in there, and that's where the tank was as well. And it was the other full strength. It was the full strength the heavy infantry that started there, and then he pivoted and came in there. So there's nothing there. However, when I was wading this guy, for some reason I'd moved him along here. I don't know how that happened, but he should have been here. So quickly dealing with things, right? 1, 2, 3, and then 1, 2, 3, and then 1, 2, 3. So these would all ended up in this area, and they would have still been in the. It was the green that fired, wasn't it? No, sorry, the red. It was the red that fired on the fire card there, and it was hitting triangles, and that's why both these guys took a hit. As a 1, 2, 3. Yeah, I kind of want them up there because I want them to get them across that green line next turn. But however, this guy would not have been. Well, he would have been able to make it in there, I think, if I went and move 1, 2, 3. But I'm not so sure that really helps me much anyway, does it? And it feels like it's not really getting that close. So I'll just move him 1, 2, 3 into there, right? And he was a circle, and this brown would have fired in the water, but it was a circle. So we were okay with it. I mean, I'd rather not be across here because this is brown, red, and green, which are all available, undisrupted, and able to fire. So, is it more beneficial trying to get across into there than Grant? 1, 2, 3. See, I'm not full sure. Is that getting me closer to the beach from there? I'm not so sure. It might not be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. And if I was there, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Well, it is. It is closer. And it gets you out of that brown if you do that. Well, if I'm sitting there though, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, hit the beach. So that's 3 turns to hit the beach. If I was sitting here, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 3 turns to hit the beach, Grant. Right, that solves it then. So I will indeed go 1, 2, 3. Now, Martin confirmed to me that as long as I'm getting closer within that whole move, not every step of the move, then I'm fine. Okay, and these two, like I say, would have took the hits from red, wasn't it? Red, yeah. And red was able to hit, well, it could hit 5 things, but so that was that. That was that sorted. I don't know why that guy had moved along. I'm not quite sure how that happened. Right, and then now to fix this. Now, do I really need to go and get the post? Well, maybe. Hang on. Yeah, I might as well, because I've decided to just settle on the fact that this part is just going to be just going over this, fixing that mistake, and whatever else I added in. So no gameplay, but I'll make a note of that. Whether that annoys some people or not, as long as I've got the comment at the beginning, and if you're not interested in any of that, if you just want to actually see the gameplay. Again, I always think this is quite important. I mean, okay, I probably make it more long-winded than it needs to be, but if you're watching my videos, you'll know that by now, and you'll deal with it as you see fit. Whether you don't watch it or fast forward it at times, do something else while you're listening to me drone on or whatever, you'll deal with it. Okay, so I think. Yeah, and my question was, I'd laid out the image and I said, right, what happens? And so they've got the picture to look at now. So when we've got Jacob, who has been making some comments, he eventually says, oh, wait now, time out. The assault action enables an enemy to close combat. In your example, A12 and H22 are both 3 spaces away. And it is these units we're talking about. So we're looking at this, and this. But let's just imagine the Japanese unit is in that hex. Well, let's go and get you know what, I'll not bring a depth marker along, but let's just get a Japanese unit there to complete the example. So it is here, and it's wanted. Come on, it was a double yellow. Let's look at matters. It was also face down when it actually happened. It wasn't revealed, but anyway. So there we are. These have been removed from the game anyway. And so he says in your example, A12 and H22 are both 3 spaces away. So 3 spaces away from this, he's saying, okay. But only H22 is a position hex, so enemy would engage H22 in CC. Well, he mustn't have noticed, and he comes back. I went to remind him that this isn't actually a position hex. So, and my conclusion was that it was going to be between these two, and it was going to be my choice. And I told him that the reason I picked that one was because it was in blue, blah, blah, blah. And then he says, oh, yeah, you did say it was A12 was in a position. And he was saying good rationale for being H22. Okay, so, I said it looked like he was saying that, and it looked like from John Brown's response that these would be the targets, indeed. But I still was a little confused about it in the wording and the rules. And then so I was waiting on what Martin had to say, and he repeated the 2 points that he made previously. And let's just read them again, right? So he says, in this situation, it seems simple at first glance. So he's got step 1 and step 2, and this is what he said earlier in the post. Step 1, look for the closest US unit, regardless of if it's in a position hex or not. And that was kind of, I think it was that was kind of throwing me, because this is the closest US unit, not these. It is this, right? And this is why I was getting thrown a bit. But read step 2 and listen to what it's saying, Grant. Step 2 says, now look for the eligible position hex closest to that unit, right? And maybe I did start thinking a little bit about that, because I talked about this possibly being... however, Martin, well, right, let's there's a couple other things to think about, but so that's what he said. So the position hex that's closest to that unit, and that's the bit that's closest to. When it says closest to, you've not even got the rule open, right? That's all. There it is. Yeah. No more than 3 hexes away from its current position and closest to the nearest US unit. I wasn't getting that, but what that means is, first of all, you find the closest US unit. I don't like the way it's worded, but that could just be me, right? I think it could have been worded better. So we are actually looking for the closest US unit, which is this guy. This is our target, if you like, right? And then we're going to be looking, it's got to move to a position hex as well, right? And that's stated at the beginning, and John Brown highlighted that to me, and I was like, oh yeah, of course. So it can't move into there. Now, if this was in its field of fire, it could. It's not in its field of fire, so it does it in a different way. So, however, this is still its target, but it needs to move to a position hex. Now, it wants a position hex that is closest to that, right? So we look about and we say, what's the position? Well, these are all taken by Japanese unit. Now, it can either be it says the unit may move into an unoccupied or US occupied position hex. I'm wondering, does that not mean unoccupied position hex there, Martin? Not maybe just position. I don't know, because I'll read what he says further on. It's relevant to this position E8 that he mentions, and I did talk about that one up there. Says, well, it could move up there, blah blah blah, but that doesn't look right. Anyway, so it can only move into an unoccupied position hex. I think unoccupied. It just says unoccupied or US occupied position hex. To me, that means both of them are talking about position hexes. And then if entering US occupied position hex, conduct close combat. So, Martin carries on. So he says, following those steps, it would move to H22 because it's the closest to the nearest unit. This is our target nearest unit, And this is the hex that's closest to it, because this one's 4 away. If I move into there, it's 1, 2, 3, 4 away. If I move into here, it's only 3 away. This is the nearest one to move to, and it's within 3. It needs to be within 3 of that. It can only move 3 hexes. So, but interestingly, he carries on. He says, I think that feels like a move that fits well with the rest of the rules. And I agree, now that I'm grasping the fact that this is its target, but it needs to move to a position hex that's closest to that. Now, the other thing could be, although it's 2 hexes away from this just now, it's moving there, it's ending up 3 hexes away. So it's not moving closer, it's moving further away from its target. However, it doesn't matter about that. It doesn't say that it's got to move closer to it. But reading some of that can throw you a bit and make you think that it needs to be closer to this because of the way it's kind of worded. But if you break it down and look at it carefully, that's indeed what it says. So he says, now E1, where is E1? Is it one of these? No, that's E4. Oh, that's E1. Right, okay, so that's the one the position's in. So what is he saying about that then? If E1 was empty, a move there would also make some sense with the Japanese unit moving closer to the action. So what he's saying is if this was empty, to be honest, our choices would still be between that and that. However, that being closer to the nearest unit would be the position it would move to. And it wouldn't close combat anything if that was empty. So that would be right as well. Now, and then he finally finishes off with, he says, however, suppose E8 brown were a single position. That's here, right? Now, it's a it's a position group. It's joined up with this. So I think what Martin's saying is, because this is occupied, it can't consider that as being an unoccupied. However, the way I could read that, and I might be wrong, but I'm going to leave this in here for you to decide what you think of that, Martin. It does suggest to me that it's unoccupied position hex. So, I mean, this is an unoccupied position hex. It's not an unoccupied position, but it's an unoccupied position hex. Unless I'm picking up the way that's worked wrong, then I still see that in my eyes as being a possible option. And I carry on to what he says. However, suppose E8 brown were a single position. That means the player could opt to move the Japanese unit there because the position is empty and equally far from the closest unit. That does not seem right to me. So what he's saying is the move from there to there doesn't seem right for what it's trying to do. However, it does seem right for it to move to there. However, in the rules, what he's saying is it could go there because that going there takes it 3 hexes away from that. That going there takes it 3 hexes away from that. If 2 or more eligible positions are equidistant from the nearest US unit, and that's what that means there. So we've got this position and this position, which are the same distance away from the nearest US unit. This one here, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. Then move to the position closest to the Japanese unit's position. Well, this is 1, 2, 3 away from its original position. This is 1, 2, 3. So you can't break that down. And then the final priority, if you like, or final decision you got to make is your choice. So it's my choice. So in actual fact, in some ways, you would put it there. If you had the choice between there or there, I think I would have put it there. And, well, again, Martin, you'll need to confirm with me if you don't think, because that is that considered that it's occupied then? Because it does, I tend to feel like it's unoccupied position hex. But then these games have always been that little bit awkward with position hexes, position groups, positions. The wording and all that is a bit, can sort of mess you a bit. But what he was saying there was that there would have to be a single position, and that would mean it would be unoccupied. But I still think that might be an unoccupied position hex. That's how I see that right now. I could be wrong though, because of this being in that. If it says unoccupied position or unoccupied position group, then yeah, this is occupied. But if it says unoccupied position hex, I think that does satisfy that. I could be wrong. So we'll leave that there. But yeah, it's quite clear now. It's quite clear to me. And it's because I wasn't getting this bit. And I'm not so sure Jacob that commented here has realised that. Whether John Brown's... I need to go back and look at his original comment. I'll do that later rather than try and dissect it just now. So I'm not even sure if John Brown's been looking at it that way. And then finally... yeah, I just said, I think I get it now. But yeah, I moved to E8 would feel a bit off. It does. It doesn't look like that's the right sort of thing. That doesn't look like an assault move, does it? But going by the rules as written, it probably is. And like I say, I don't know if that's classed as occupied then. To me, it's not an occupied hex. That's the thing. And then I say thanks for persevering with this one, because it seemed to take one of the ones that seemed to take a while for me for it to sink in with me. Even with his first reply with the 2 points, 1 and 2, I wasn't getting it. But if you read it, it's quite simple, really, to be honest. And then Jeans had a comment after that. Interesting. I kind of assumed that when considering the closest position to the nearest US unit, the current position occupied by the Japanese unit is factored in, and considering the tiebreaker closest to the Japanese unit's current position, the current position always wins if no other closer position is available. I'm not really taking that in, to be honest. The rules don't mention this explicitly, though. It could be that the unit really has to move if possible. Yeah, I think that's what this is. If so, then it would even be possible for it to actually move further. Well, it has. It's been 2 hexes away from this guy, and then it moves to there, which is then 3 hexes away from that. And I think that was correct. That's what it should have done. Right, the good thing about all that is it did move into the hex that we had it moving into, and it close combated, and it failed miserably, because this guy was solid as a rock. One of the best close combats I've had, I think. Yeah, it just all went right. Well, they had 4 cards, and not one of them was blue, I think. Was it blue? Or was it 5? No, I think it was 4 cards, that one. Anyway, okay, so I think we've got that resolved now. And yeah, we'll have a glance back at John's comment there. And, well, John, I'm sure will get around to reading that, and whether, if he has got that. And I'm not saying you have, John. I need to look at your comment again and study it, because you might be, you might have it just the same as what Martin has for sure. And that might just be that I've not read it right in the first place. Okay, so what I think I'll do there, I think I'll just stop this video here, and I'm going to come straight. In fact, what I'm going to do, I could be putting another part together. Yeah, it's only a 20-minute part recording this. Right, so I will go and start getting that uploaded. I will put a comment at the start of this video saying that there wasn't any gameplay. We still are waiting to carry out the US action phase. That's what stage we are. But I think if I start that now, I'm going to, the video's going to be too long. So I'll just make this a sort of an additional part in between, and leave a comment at the beginning saying there's no gameplay. Right, and I will be back with part 33 very shortly. Cheers.